parlay that, even though Gangplank's not in the game? Can they then parlay it into something a little bit better? We will have to see if they can do it, as we have game number 2 of Sengoku versus Fukuoka Softbank Hawks Gaming. It is our LJL Summer Semifinal, game 2. We are hitting the rift to see how it goes, and this time around, you called it last time, we'd have to wait to game 2 for a little bit of spice. This is the 5-man stack of the Hawks going deep for some nice information here, but this should be traded as we see Paz going to go ahead and get a ward down on the opposing blue buff, and I don't know if Softbank Hawks is going to stick around. Looks like they're just scouting out some deep vision.
This is interesting, right? Because, I mean, if you're Wukong, you're very happy if you have to cut your map in half and only play on the top side, and you just take blue side's top side. Like, that actually works perfectly for you. So I think it's actually kind of a weird spot. If you want to get this invade in, I mean, Vital actually just doing it blind and being correct. It's like, hey, if they're still in this bush, they're going to clearly go for the blue buff. As you can see, Once is still hovering. He's like, I still need to know the information. They get a ward. They're going to see that Blank is going to be doing this. So in response, he's going to get his wolves, and then he's going to rotate around, get that red buff, get the blue buff. As you mentioned, Paz went off and did it. Oh, Reiner, though.
This is such a smart deep ward that they got early. I was curious why they didn't put it on the buff. This is why they are just harassing Once, and that's going to be Reiner taking away one of the small, or rather Blank taking away one of the small wolves with Reiner's help, as well as the blue buff. And this is one of the pieces where Softbank Hawks has a really tangible early game advantage. Is the level 1 with a Nautilus is so much stronger than the level 1 of the Yuumi, and now we see Reiner continuing to find that juice, get that little bit of a dog in him, just keep finding these hooks that we saw coming on through even back in game 1, landing some fat ones. So really continuing to feel good is Reiner on this signature pick of theirs, and I think that'll do a lot of justice for Softbank Hawks here in this early game, let them build up a good advantage.
Yeah, NT was the one obviously piloting that Nautilus last game, so I mean, it's like, can we see the opposite side of it, right? Like, can we see the Reiner side? Because that's a player who is known for big engages. His rel is synonymous, honestly, with him as a player in this region. Like, if you have to say blind who's the rel player, it's Reiner. No questions asked. He's the best player on that champion in a blind one, yeah. And go in and the Iron Woman, who will defeat you and will gladly do it. What's interesting, Blank came in with that invade at level 1. Now the two junglers are seeing one another, and at this moment in time, Blank actually has a level advantage just because of the clear they got to do. Once is still behind on this clear and gets bullied out, which means there's going to be a double, it's going to be a single buff for the side of Sengoku Gaming in this first rotation. Whereas from the looks of things, it's probably going to be at least one Scuttle Crab and triple buff for this.
Yeah, but on the bot side, we have the all-in coming through. That Prowling Projectile did land, and that's going to be Vital going with the dash all the way through. Both of these members now with those AoE auto attacks off the W, really putting in work. The Wave in a pretty good spot, too, can try and hold it here. Going to have to force Reiner and Marble to come on forward, but they have the backup in the vicinity. Blank getting that double crab that you pointed out. Double crab, triple buff. This Poppy feeling real good, up about 2.5 camps right now. And look at Blank's positioning, waiting to see if anything crazy, anything kooky can come out. Instead, it will be the freeze coming through from Vital. That's the flash hook, though, and the flash Poppy over the wall. Once again, it's the bot lane of Softbank Hawks finding the first blood, although NT back. It's one execute, but it is one kill to the kitty cat there, as the supports are the last ones left standing. Not quite as clean as it went last time, Swan.
No, and I'm a little bit surprised that obviously Marble wasn't touched. They were very deep on that engage, and they were very far away, so it's not too surprising that Vital wasn't able to get that. But the fact that they traded anything is just surprising. There should have been nothing. It should have been free for the side of the Fukuoka Softbank Hawks, and it was very, very intelligently played by them. They made the aggression. Kanatsu is gonna keep slapping Paz, but I don't think he can actually. Maybe.
I mean, it's a lot of movement speed coming through, but that Mega actually doing Kanatsu a disservice at that point, because no more ranged auto attacks at this point, as we do get the replay coming through here.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a flash engage from the side. That obviously the dredge line landing onto them. The issue slightly is that it's mixed target. However, Reiner doesn't use the passive immediately for the Nautilus onto NT. He tries to buffer it a little bit, decides to use it the other way around, but this is just mismanagement of the turret aggro there. And honestly, that's where they thought that Reiner was tanking the turret, right? You assume the Nautilus, that dredge line is that deep, is tanking. They weren't. So it doesn't really work. Weird trade.
Definitely a bit of a weird champ in chat there, but the lead, ever so slim, does still exist for Softbank Hawks. They have about 1 kill's worth of advantage here. Have to see if they can continue moving that forward as Scumbag Blank coming in to steal a minion. I'm just helping you push, bro, I'm sure he's saying, but it will result in this wave crashing, should bounce out. Outside of the bot lane action, things more or less where they were last time around. Top lane, bit of an island, is that dredge line gonna tickle Vital, but not actually connect, although we see more action coming through. These bot lanes always ready to scrap with each other.
Yeah, the thing is, like, a lot of the exchange they're doing, like, 1 heal out of Yuumi pretty much is the trade for it. So eventually, it's like the health bar will just get to a place where either NT will have mana, or they won't have mana. Right? But like something we haven't mentioned, and I can't believe I forgot to do this, Ghost Cleanse on Vital. No flash.
Oh my god, how could we have missed the Disco Neela? I mean, we've seen this before. Vital is not the first person to do this. I forget who it was, but I believe it was in a game 5. We've seen the Ghost Cleanse Neela come out before, and I don't like it. I understand the logic. A lot of 80 carries are skewing one of their summoner spells for Ghost these days. Doublelift sort of started that trend. It makes kiting really, really easy, but Jet going to have to Valkyrie out of that seismic shove. And then, of course, when you're playing against Nautilus, well, no. Why are you taking cleanse against Nautilus? You can't cleanse his Q. You can't cleanse his ult. I hate it. I just hate it.
Yeah, the cleanse is honestly the weirder one. I do agree with you on that. It's like Poppy ult, you get ulted, you're dead. Like, I mean, maybe the Nara ult, but I'm sorry, if Nara's ulting you, it's probably already gone. So
it's all knockups and displacements. What are you cleansing? I don't understand.
I mean, Sengoku, what I can understand to you is they brute force their way in partly through level advantages and the fact that they also just reset and waves were crashing. So Sengoku, to the side of the Fukuoka Softbank Hawks, they had to concede and go, yeah, no, we don't want to give up a whole 2 waves, potentially a 3rd wave if we're really slow on the uptick. So let's not fight over Dragon Control. Give the first one over and as it currently stands, this is the game state we're currently finding ourselves in. Blank is very much making sure the pressure is being formed early, especially off of that level 1 engage. That's how that all went down. And the other reason that this bot lane is so pressured is because of those summoners that Vital has gone. Now, part of the reason for also going that Ghost Cleanse is because Marble, right? Marble is playing Sivir. Sivir goes fast, so you need to match that. And what's the easiest way for a Neela with a Yuumi to match that? Well, it's get Shurelias on the Yuumi and then just have a Ghost. And then you're always going to have some form of way to zip, zap, and zive all around the team fights. I don't know if I'm fully sold with it. I do think I completely align with you, though, Dodge.
Yeah,
fully sold.
That cleanse strikes me as something that sort of goes in line with game 1, as we do see the Rift Herald go on over to the Hawks. The top side, not nearly as winning for Sengoku as the early level 6 on Vital allowed their bot lane to be. But in game 1, we saw Vital playing First Strike Lucian with an early serrated Dirk, who went behind and still managed to pop off and hit 3 items before his opposing member, who got fed off of the back of his deaths. I think Sengoku just has an ego, because that's double amplifying tome coming out early from NT. This could be Luden's Echo Yuumi. This could be just complete disrespect gaming from Sengoku. And honestly, I'm kind of living for it, because they showed in game number 1 that they don't have anything to fear as of yet from the Hawks. The Hawks got ahead early with the better scaling comp, couldn't punish Sengoku, still lost in pretty quick fashion. So, you know what? Maybe I'm a bit of a fan of the psychological damage of the Cleanse Ghost Neela coming out here.
I do think NTs are sinning a little bit, though, with double amp tomes. I think personally, if you've got the money, you should probably go for a really early Dark Seal. Just because you could get potentially a very early Death Note Yumi, and you just win the game just really hard through that. And it can actually be a factor which can change a team fight that you might lose just because of the sheer amount of mana. But it's a weird one. That's what I would have liked to see.
Yeah, the early Dark Seal, always fun when you're playing the full AP Yumi. I had my days of playing full AP Yumi when Yumi was way more busted. Me and my friend used to play Yumi Wukong bot lane. We boosted up a couple of divisions and ranked. I got my only ever 40 kill game. We would alternate between Wukong and Yumi. My only ever 40 kill game in a ranked game was on Wukong with Wukong Yumi, with release Yumi. Great stuff. And we will see this Herald be dropped mid lane here as Rhina actually going to engage onto Vital. That's the final chapter coming on out. If they can root up this Nautilus, Neela could put in work. The depth charge going to knock them up, going to put them in a great spot to be pinned down by Blank on the Poppy. Look at that ult, though, pulling them back under turret, not going to do the work necessary. It's a lot of low health bars, but none to drop to 0 for the Hawks there. They get off a nice fight bot lane. And I think we've found the secret here, Swan, to breaking up the lull states and getting the action to start. I just have to start talking about my solo queue games.
Maybe. And that fight there, I very much need to see the replay coming out because I'm not quite sure if Vital actually got the heal and shield from their ultimate. I think NT tried to unattach, so obviously you can give the healing and everything over, which with her passive, it then amplifies that, so some of it goes back. I don't think we actually got to see it come down. I think we got the pull-in part, we got the Diana Moon Crescent part, but we didn't actually get the damaging part come out. But this is really well played by Diana, identifying that this is a spot where they can pull in. And this here, if I could pause, this is the part that it was awful. The fact that they didn't get the third hit immediately onto one of them, meaning they actually had a target they could get down. No, the damage does actually come out. It just doesn't do anything. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's how the rework kind of went down for her. After release, that thing got tagged huge. And rightly so, in all fairness. You could basically almost 4v1 if your ultimate hit on every member. It was gross, but...
Look, if a champion isn't getting massive nerfs and changes on their very first patch, or in Zeri's case for the 9 patches after its release, is it really a 2022 champion? As we see Jet picking up this first package here, this is going to be very, very worthwhile to have for this Drake that's coming on up. Can come over to this area and put in so much work to secure a big team fight victory with it. All the Wombo tools lined up. You have the Cyclone for once. You have Neela's ultimate back up. You have the Lost Chapter. This feels like a fight Softbank Hawks cannot take right now, lest they put themselves in a very scary position.
Yeah, and the Hawks, while they've got themselves into this spot, I mean, something I would like to bring to your attention is the mid lane. While the CS is rather equal, there's a lot of plates that have been funneled into mid. That's a Herald getting dropped in mid and everything. So, I mean, Dasher is also doing okay on damage, and that's a player I do want to watch as this fight begins.
Yeah, that Poppy ult's so good to actually equalize things here. The package not doing a whole lot of burn damage, but the Hawks are still ticking down nonetheless, and now Vital has open season, has a clear spot to get on in, but he's by himself. He's with the cap at Blank, doing a good job zoning off all by themselves. Jet, the only one to fall thus far. So Sengoku, the one to pull the trigger, feeling confident. All those tools that were available, like we had pointed out, not actually going to pay dividends for them as they just have to pull back, and they might lose their mid lane tier 1 and this Mountain Drake now.
Just a bit of miscommunication, maybe just not being quite on the same page, just not working out. And hey, that's just how it sometimes goes. The issue is, Sengoku, you have more scaling in this game. I would argue Sailors to Corki is kind of comparable in a weird spot, but this is with package, this is with everything, and you can see there's a great idea, but you're right. The moment once is out of this team fight, they don't have the second Wukong ult, which means they don't have the follow-up for this engage, which means it's very hard. Vital also can't dash because of the Talia stones thrown on the ground, so it's really hard. They're always a step behind. They're behind Blank. Blank is like, yeah, no, I can zone you out forever. However, Hawks don't actually secure this because Vital and NT run down. They push the bot lane in. Mid lane is also very equal, so the lane states actually equal out, but because Hawks are first back onto the map, they're able to claim control, and as it stands, item-wise, you don't really want to fight if you're Sengoku at the moment. You don't have your mythics, whereas the Sivir has actually got hers, as do others.
Yep, cross map coming through. Paz going to be onto this tier 1. Has the potential to take it in return for the Drake that went down. Dasher has something to say about it, though. Going to make sure that the first turret bonus does go over to the side of the Hawks. They do grab that one up. The mid lane tier 1 going to unlock a lot of room to push into enemy jungle territory, get these deep ward down, as a Rhino will do just that. Second Herald live and ready to be harvested. That crab meat looking good to the side of the Hawks. They are repeating history here a little bit, Swan. We have a nice, strong early game. At the 15-minute mark, they're ahead about 2k gold. They're doing well on objectives. It will be yet to be seen if they can continue this and carry it forward in a manner that is superior to how they did in game 1.
Yes, and I mean, arguably similar about gold lead and everything else. The issue was when they came to do these big 5v5 team fights. However, the first one went in their favor. That's a change compared to game 1 and game 2. And I would partly argue that's because of the champions that they're operating at this moment. There's a lot of comfort, as you mentioned in the pick and ban phase. I said Kanatsu, Marble, obviously, this is one of his more comfortable champions, and a lot less resourcements required for them to assist here. As you're getting older away, you're not having this turret anymore. That was the polite thing.
I love Poppy ult. I just love seeing them whoo through the air. It gives me a little chuckle every time, Swan, as that was a very good setup Poppy ult from Blank. This is why we see Poppy in the meta so much. The anti-mobility shenanigans that pair up well with the Talia, you know, also a big plus against the likes of Wukong, Renekton, Corki, Neela, but even better than that is just getting somebody that's in a spot you don't want them, just chucking them away. Like a football.
Factor. That factor has been, yeah, exactly like a football. Quarterbacks rejoice, but I mean, you're not the kicker, so don't be doing that.
And you see, I was going for the English football reference, but it works with American football too, because you kick them both. Hence, football, cross-cultural exchange.
We're helping one another out here. It's going to be really important, obviously, over the next 3 to 5 minutes to see how the next few team fights go, because I think so much is countering on how this is going to go. Are we going to stay even? Is it going to stay Hawk slightly ahead? Is it going to be Sengoku? I do expect Sengoku to get a fantastic team fight. The issue is, and it's that it comes back to that Poppy ult that you so brilliantly set up, because we have seen countless teams in the LJL throughout this whole summer season get mind controlled slightly by Poppy ultimates. And what I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been able to catch us throughout all of this, and I understand there's a lot of league happening at the moment, just today. I think there's 3 or 4 quarterfinals, or at least big matches happening. DRX versus KT, Order versus Pentanet over in the LCO, Go Corporal. Not showing my bias here, obviously, but whatever. I mean, who are you supporting with those 2 matchups? KT, right, and Order, or are you leaning otherwise?
KT and Pentanet. I have a Pentanet jersey. Right. I can't not support my boys. But speaking of support, Blank has the support nearby, going on the deep dive, has the Nautilus with him to try and force something onto Corki. His Dasher has to freeze time, has to go into that stasis. The TP comes in, Paz gonna follow, gonna find the opposing mid laner, and this is what feels like has happened this whole series so far. Softbank Hawks were in such a good spot, then they went too greedily, they dug too deep, and now it's going back in the favor of Sengoku. Is Vital actually not going to be able to find anything. He went so far forward, he had ult, but he just couldn't do anything with it, and now it's going to be Kanatsu with the Mega Gnar, it's going to be Marble with these Boomerang Blades, actually turning this all the way around. That was a game of throwsies back and forth, but in the end, it's Softbank Hawks making the final catch.
I just wonder if there was maybe a better path, better route there, Jet. I don't know if you quite had to sacrifice yourself for the greater good. The greater good. But I mean, hey, if that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be. You do have a Yumi who can give you zoomies, but hey, it all starts with Blank going, hey, I found you, Jack. You're going to take it. But in actuality, Paz and the side of Sengoku have much bigger fish to fry. Dasha has a really cool idea, but what's important now is look at the mini-map, ladies and gentlemen. Kanatsu has TP'd in, and now Vital and Jet and NT are all coming down, and they are able to collapse, and they're able to help and assist Paz with this collapse. The issue here is that Jet and Paz basically are already out of this fight, so then it's all on Vital to carry, and you just can't versus that front line, especially with the Mega Gnar coming, the inevitability factor. It's unfortunate that Jet found himself here. He didn't need to. He was the furthest away from this dragon at the start. But hey, that's just how it sometimes plays out. Slightly positive for Sengoku, but could have been a lot better.
It do be that way sometimes, Swan, and the way it be right now is that this Windrake has been kited towards the bot side, but here comes the Weaver's Wall. That's such nice separation, perfectly placed there from Dasher, going to force the reset on the Drake. Got a little bit confused with its pathing interrupted, but now Kanatsu ticking through that Mega Gnar. No productive usage of the ultimate. This should be the Drake in a good position for Sengoku, but whether they can convert through the 50-50 is another matter to be seen as Paz gets shoved into the stones to get hooked up by Rhino. The healing coming through. The Poppy ultimate so on point as well, but now Softbank Hawks continuing to back up, and it will give once time to get on in. This dragon staying leashed, staying aggro this whole time. Now it's Rhina who's going to be the focus of its ire. That's the Boomerang Blade not quite connecting. Those seismic stones not going to be finding their mark either. Who will take this Drake? It's the 50-50. That is the nice W from the Poppy to keep the Wukong out, as it will be the Sivir who picks it up, but who will take the fight on the back half? It's Vital finally going forward with a big open will fall in the back half. Jet finds the double kill. Now the Yumi is on once, but once can't stay alive. That cat goes splat as Softbank Hawks once again find the fight. They go 2 for 3 and they get the dragon.
He gets the dragon, multiple kills, Marble showing up and saying, hey, Vital, heard you've been pretty good this split. Watch me. And watch him we shall. Marble, what a beautiful performance. It seems far more comfortable on this Sivir pick. Hugely important, pops the ultimate at the time that makes sense, honestly. An important thing to know, at this moment in time, Nyla are already down, Dominus also down now for the Renekton, so a lot of ults they're just not playing with, and then this ultimate away for the Wukong. It does get the Wukong clone as well, so hey, they don't have to worry about attacking anything into that, potentially missing once initially, but now you just look at it, health bars just aren't parity anymore. Now, in all fairness, Kanatsu isn't Mega, so they don't have to worry about it, but that was a messy fight. But what happens afterwards is they go, oh my god, we've got Reiner, go, go, go. The issue is Marble on the backline is going to absolutely keep getting to train wreck, and the rest of the team are able to back them up. Yes, they lose Blank. Yes, they use Reiner, but at the end of the day, they get 3 kills, and it's all onto their AD carry, so it's all worth. And blimey, look at that damage.
Yeah, Jet trying to do what they could on that Corki, and it makes sense with the long-range poke. You get a lot of damage out,
package as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy accomplishment coming through from the Sengoku mid laner. We expect no less of, I do believe for the second split in a row, our first all-pro mid laner coming on through here in Jet, but something that really encourages me about this game here, Swan, is at the beginning I said maybe Vital is playing a bit disrespectful. We saw last game bounce back in a big way to really outperform Marble despite a bad start, as now we see Kanatsu and Paz exchanging some blows. This time going the Ghost Cleanse, and Marble stepping up. But speaking of stepping up, Paz stepping into the face of Kanatsu continuously. You don't want this fight, buddy. You're on the wrong side of the map in a losing position. That Gore Drinker heal going to sustain you for a while, but as the Dominus ticks out, your life will tick away. That just felt wholly unnecessary.
Yeah, and Sengoku, you could see the whole team starting to run over and collapse and going, no, we're going to back up our Renekton. But at the same time, Hawks identified, they're like, oh, they're all going to come now and identify, and they land the hook!
Yeah, that's one dead 80 carry. I think Vital's ego is getting a check here. Went with the Disco Neela, and Marble just thoroughly outperforming right now. That is 3 key members off the map. The Baron available. Softbank Hawks can come through, sweep out this vision, and then put their eyes on this pit. Open season here on the Nasher. They have their hunting license. They're ready to mount him to the hood of the car and drive towards the base at full speed with him. Although TP coming in, Paz re-hitting the map. This is just too little too late. You have to feel the Boomerang Blade going to do such a good job at zoning. Kanatsu as well with that Gnar available, ready to wallop away anybody. They're holding on this Baron for a long time. They don't want to take it quite yet, just to prevent the 50-50. Finally, they know that the members are zoned away. It's an easy take. They burst it down. They take it out. And that is the big gold lead coming through for the Hawks. They're up 7k.
And it all started with the cleanse on the Neela. Huh. That's what I want to bring to your attention, ladies and gentlemen. A point that Infinite Dodge brought up the moment we identified those summoners, and he's like, I don't understand the cleanse. It doesn't seem to make much sense. Because look, even with the ultimate coming through, yes, you cleansed the passive, but the ult came through, it meant nothing, and Reiner got so much value just from the Nautilus passive. which then in turn they were able to then lead in and get that Baron. And you absolutely, the jump over for Konatsu being full mega and just looking at the team, just going, I will ult you away because that's my only job. Blank took forever to take down that last pink ward, literally auto-attacking it as a Poppy just because they're like, hey, we don't need to flip this. And the Hawks have respectively found themselves over a 7k gold lead, and they deserve every moment of praise for this because they are playing so well. And it's a complete opposite side from what we saw from game one, which is them finding a lead and then just kind of falling apart all across the map. But now they're playing with confidence, they're playing with power. Dodge, I think they've got their power gloves on.
Yeah, they've definitely found their Zenkai boost coming into this one. They were beaten near death in game one. The power level just going to shoot on up as a result. There's now Jet hanging around with this package, trying to contest ahead of this Cloud Drake spawn in just 10 seconds. Softbank Hawks have pushed up so well, and that should be another dead Vital, or at the very least a severely beaten one. Weaver's well a little bit late there from Dasher, but once, where are you, buddy? Monkey see, Monkey get out of his cage. He ran to the wrong side of the zoo, and now the zookeepers are going to have to put him in the dirt. Holding on to that Poppy swing for quite a while. Was Blank going to elect to keep it? I think it's the safe move. Let that keeper's verdict reset. It's now Jet looking for the package angle, but he has to use it defensively. And man, oh man, Sengoku really falling apart at this point.
Well, I mean, just look at where Vital actually is at the moment, and NT must be screaming the Poppy, the standard sentence for a Yumi. Just don't go somewhere out. They're dangerous. This is so dangerous. That's a tower.
Oh no! I mean, good on Vital and NT for getting one, I suppose. It was the shutdown, finally the Neela on the board, but they traded 2 for 1. The Renekton has to back off after shoving that bot lane. Can't possibly contest. Soul Point going over to the Hawks. 7k is the lead still. Going to be ticking down that Baron before they can really start to crack the base, but it gave them all the priority they needed to win some fights, get themselves in a very inevitable position to fall back on our card game analogy. And this Sivir just looking so powerful now, has the stopwatch, going to mean even more of a menace in the next fight, even harder to deal with. Softbank Hawks really looking to even this series up.
And you could also argue that Blank is becoming a slightly unkillable monster now at this moment in time, and Zhonya's getting all the value because Jet's gone full AD, right? This is mostly an AD composition who are splashing for AP damage. They are benefactors because they got a Yumi.
And a Corki. Corki does still do a lot of magic damage, despite the fact he builds AD. But
it's very much a splash. It's very much like an incidental sort of thing, and it kind of can hit that point where you start looking at where the comps are going, where all the scaling is going, and I'm like, I think you needed a shield bow, Neela. Like, I don't think this is a game where you can get away with this stuff. I think you need to be able to sustain through some of these fights. You need to understand that you're going to need to have some time because Corki needs time to land a few of his rockets. You can't just expect to 100-0 multiple champions. And against what you're playing against, yeah, I think that's where you're at. The Dragon's Soul is going to be going down, and I think that potentially could be the final fight for Sengoku.
Yeah, and that Wind Soul going to be oh so important for the Hawks. Going to make Sivir even more effective at kiting or chasing down whatever she so chooses to apply that passive to. It's going to get even more deadly. And yeah, it's just the matter of doing the homework, getting the errands out of the way, sweeping these greater spaces of vision in the enemy jungle for the Hawks, getting their wards down, and getting prepared to take the next round of objectives when they spawn. Baron buff in 1.5 minutes, still about 2.5 minutes out from that Soul Drake, but once it's up, it feels like there's very little in the Hawks' way.
So, I'm going to take this in a weird direction. Have you seen that in the LPL, they interview random players and they ask them about LEC picks?
No, I have not seen this.
Just general pro player picks. I think this is an interesting spot with the Neela. You'd ask them, is this solo queue or is this pro play? Because we're at a place where I'm like, I don't really know what we're doing, Vital.
Yeah,
choice.
It's a weird one. And again, I'm pretty sure, I wish I could recall a little bit more clearly, I'm pretty sure this is not the first Ghost Cleanse Neela we've seen.
No, it's not. It's the
in
Gale
pro.
Force Collector that's coming along with it that I'm going even more.
Wait,
I'm like,
there's no shield bow on Neela?
No,
have you not played the champ?
I'm pain gaming here, and we also didn't go for, which is a pretty standard second, a Phantom Dancer. Like that's a pretty standard second item. I've played this champion a bit in solo queue. It's actually a champion that recently came out. I played.
Oh,
like
that's the cleanse. Goes into the stopwatch. Very well timed from Vital, but it's not going to be enough to save your life. That was a very nice cleanse. It did absolutely nothing for you because you got displaced twice in that fight, and now Talia gets the double kill, 2 displacements, 2 kills, 2 Barons now for Softbank Hawks. 2 is their lucky number. Everything's coming up 2s as, yeah, Sengoku, this is not the game you wanted to see after an impressive bounce back from a bad start in game 1. This is shaking my faith. Not to be
No, Dodge. You set it up perfectly. This is a reality check. This is an attitude check. Vital?
Come on,
Respect Marble. All right, just give a bit more respect, and then it'll be all okay. And there's probably no disrespect, ladies and gentlemen. We simply jest in the grand scale of everything. Because, yeah, no, that cleanse is doing not a lot. Because, yes, you got the first one, but the displacement, as you said, Dodge, it was the killing blow, ultimately. And this Poppy ultimate was glorious because it just takes away the potential threat of any idea of death being on the cards. Nope. Get rid of the Yumi, get rid of the Corki. We'll now win this fight decisively, get the Baron, and in 30 seconds, or now 20 seconds, they can collect their Dragon Soul, which is honestly the fight which they kind of have to go for. Yeah, it's a Cloud Soul, but I just don't think you win the Elder fight.
Yeah, this is the last stand for Sengoku. Jet certainly thinks so, sitting on that package. The Yumi has hopped off for greener pastures here. That Neela not doing anybody any good at this point. Jet will be the recipient of the purring buff. And this is actually Sengoku's really good setup. They have 2 pinks. They have the Scuttle Relic. They're on this first, and they should take it pretty quick. Blank eating some of this big one poke. That's already a half-health Drake. They have to find some sort of way to approach. Is the Reaver's all going to come out?
Oh, no!
Yeah, that's the Poppy ult not connecting with the Dragon. Resets now. Kanatsu in the midst of everybody finds the big Gnar. But look at Jet kiting this out, popping the GA, and now it's Gnar in a bad spot. The Poppy goes over the wall, but this could actually be Sengoku turning it around. Are you kidding me? And he goes very low. Can he get on somebody before he falls? No, he can't. It looked all right for a moment, but in an eye blink, it's back to a nightmare for Sengoku. Somebody wake them up. Don't let them keep living through this. It's the 1 for 3 for Softbank Hawks, and it is the end of Sengoku's hopes in this game, you have to feel.
Oh, absolutely. As the TP comes in for Dash, who gets to reset, and they get this Baron buff still. They've still got 1 more minute on them, and there's a chance they're just going to knock on the front door, because guess what? Death timers, even for Jet and NT, you still got 10 more seconds to go, 20 seconds on Jet, and he's going to be the first big member up.
Yeah, I hope they don't throw here. Come on, Softbank Hawks, don't let me down. No. These aren't champions at this point.
Okay.
I was worried for nothing. Softbank Hawks, they got it in the bag. And we do have a series on our hands. Nexus go boom. Series evened up 1-1. Softbank Hawks showing some life right now.
Well, I feel rather good about my prediction at this moment in time. I did think there would be a random one that the Hawks would be able to pick up, and that's the one. And honestly,